The WWE Universe just witnessed something absolutely unthinkable that has left fans across the globe in complete shock and disbelief. Nick Aldis, the man who has been quietly orchestrating chaos behind the scenes on SmackDown, has just pulled off what might be the most devastating move in recent wrestling history by systematically dismantling everything Roman Reigns has built over the past 4 years. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, do it now because you're going to want to stay updated on every twist and turn of this explosive situation that's about to change the entire landscape of professional wrestling as we know it. What started as subtle tension between the SmackDown general manager and the self-proclaimed tribal chief has erupted into full-scale warfare that nobody saw coming. For months, Aldis has been making calculated decisions that seemed innocent on the surface, but every single move was strategically designed to chip away at the foundation of Roman Reigns' empire. The cracks started showing when Aldis began booking Roman in increasingly difficult matches without giving him the backup and protection that the bloodline had grown accustomed to receiving. Week after week, fans noticed that Roman was being pushed into corners that he hadn't faced since before his historic title reign began, but nobody could have predicted the nuclear bomb that Aldis was preparing to drop. The turning point came during last week's episode of SmackDown when Aldis made an announcement that sent shockwaves through the entire WWE roster. He declared that Roman Reigns would be defending his position as the face of SmackDown in a gauntlet match against 5 hand-picked opponents, and the stipulation attached to this match was absolutely brutal. If Roman lost even once during this gauntlet, he would be stripped of every single accolade and recognition he had earned during his title reign, including his Hall of Fame consideration, his main event status, and most importantly, his authority over the bloodline. The announcement itself was delivered with such cold precision that even the most loyal Roman Reigns supporters had to admit that Aldis had just signed a death warrant for the tribal chief's legacy. But the real betrayal hadn't even begun yet. What happened next was something that will be talked about for decades to come. Aldis didn't just book any 5 opponents for Roman to face. He carefully selected 5 individuals who had personal vendettas against the tribal chief, 5 men who had been destroyed, humiliated, and cast aside by Roman Reigns during his reign of terror. The list included GUSO, the cousin who Roman had psychologically tortured for years before finally breaking free from his control. Sami Zayn was next, the former honorary US who had been beaten down and betrayed despite his unwavering loyalty to the bloodline. Kevin Owens made the list, a man who had lost countless opportunities because of Roman's interference and manipulation. Cody Rhodes was obviously included, the man who had his WrestleMania dreams crushed not once but multiple times by Roman's dominance. And the 5th name was the one that made everyone's jaw drop to the floor, Solo Sikoa, the enforcer who Roman had turned into his personal weapon but had recently shown signs of wanting independence from the tribal chief's shadow. The psychology behind Aldis's selection was absolutely diabolical. Every single one of these men had the skill, the motivation, and the burning desire to tear Roman Reigns apart piece by piece. The gauntlet match was scheduled for the following week's SmackDown, giving Roman barely any time to prepare for what would essentially be a fight for his entire career and legacy. The WWE Universe was split right down the middle. Half of the fans believed that Roman Reigns was unstoppable and would overcome this challenge just like he had overcome every obstacle in his path for the past 4 years. The other half saw this as poetic justice, the comeuppance that Roman had been avoiding for far too long, orchestrated by someone who finally had the courage to stand up to the tribal chief's tyranny. Social media exploded with reactions from current and former WWE superstars. Some praised Aldis for having the guts to do what nobody else in management had been willing to do. Others criticized the move as a desperate attempt to dethrone Roman Reigns because Aldis couldn't handle having such a dominant force on his brand. Backstage reports started leaking about massive arguments between Aldis and other WWE officials who thought this move was too extreme. There were rumors that even Paul Heyman, Roman's longtime advocate and mouthpiece, had approached Aldis privately to try and negotiate different terms, but Aldis reportedly shut him down immediately, making it crystal clear that there would be no negotiations, no compromises, and no way out for Roman Reigns. The week leading up to the gauntlet match was filled with intense confrontations. Roman Reigns tried every manipulation tactic in his playbook to get out of the match. He attempted to intimidate Aldis during a face-to-face confrontation in the ring, but the general manager didn't flinch. He threatened to walk out of WWE and take his star power to another promotion, but Aldis called his bluff by reminding him of his contractual obligations. He even tried to turn the locker room against Aldis by painting himself as a victim of management abuse, but after years of Roman treating everyone else in the company like servants beneath him, nobody was buying the sympathy act. Each of Roman's 5 opponents cut promos explaining exactly what they were going to do to him when they got their chance. GUSO delivered an emotional speech about the years of manipulation and abuse he suffered under Roman's control, how he was forced to choose between his cousin and his own brother, how Roman had twisted their family bonds into weapons of psychological warfare. Sami Zayn talked about the betrayal he felt after giving everything to the bloodline only to be thrown away like trash the moment Roman decided he was no longer useful. Kevin Owens didn't hold back, calling Roman every name in the book and promising to make him feel every ounce of pain that he had inflicted on others throughout his reign. Cody Rhodes spoke about how Roman had stolen his destiny multiple times and how this gauntlet match was the beginning of Roman's downfall. And Solo Sikoa, in perhaps the most chilling promo of all, simply stated that he was tired of living in Roman's shadow and that it was time for new blood to lead the family. The night of the gauntlet match arrived and the atmosphere in the arena was electric. Fans knew they were about to witness history one way or another. Either Roman Reigns would survive the impossible and prove once again why he was the greatest of this generation, or they would watch his entire legacy crumble in real time. Nick Aldis opened the show with a brief statement reiterating the rules and making it abundantly clear that there would be no interference, no disqualifications that would save Roman, and no mercy shown to anyone who tried to disrupt the match. The first opponent was Kevin Owens. The bell rang and these two warriors went to war immediately. Kevin brought everything he had, hitting Roman with his entire arsenal of moves. The stunner connected multiple times but somehow Roman kept kicking out. The match went over 20 minutes of pure brutality before Roman finally hit a devastating spear to secure the first victory. But the damage was done. Roman was already exhausted, bruised, and bleeding before the second opponent even entered. Sami Zayn was next and he showed no remorse for his former tribal chief. The match was personal and vicious. Sami targeted Roman's injured ribs with precision strikes and submission holds. Multiple times it looked like Roman was going to tap out but his pride wouldn't let him. The finish came when Roman caught Sami with a Superman punch followed by a spear, but it took Roman almost 5 minutes to even crawl over for the pin because of how much damage he had absorbed. Cody Rhodes entered third and the crowd went absolutely insane. This was the man who had come closer than anyone to beating Roman on the biggest stage, and now he had a wounded tribal chief in front of him. Cody was relentless, hitting Cross Rhodes multiple times. Roman's kickouts were getting weaker and slower with each near fall. The match ended controversially when Roman grabbed the referee's shirt during a pin attempt, causing enough distraction for him to rake Cody's eyes and hit a low blow that the referee didn't see, followed by a spear for the win. The crowd booed mercilessly but Roman had survived 3 opponents. Solo Sikoa came out fourth and this was where things got truly uncomfortable. The student versus the teacher. The enforcer versus the tribal chief. Solo absolutely brutalized Roman with power moves and strikes that echoed throughout the arena. Roman tried to talk Solo down, tried to remind him of family loyalty, but Solo was beyond words. He hit Roman with a Samoan spike that nearly took his head off. Roman somehow kicked out at 2.5. The match ended when Roman desperately grabbed Solo and hit 3 consecutive Superman punches followed by 2 spears before finally getting the pin. Roman could barely stand as Solo was helped out of the ring. The final opponent was GUSO, and the symbolism wasn't lost on anyone. The family member who had suffered the most under Roman's control now had the chance to end it all. G entered the ring with tears in his eyes, years of pain and anguish written all over his face. Roman was barely conscious, using the ropes just to stand up. The match was slow and methodical because Roman had almost nothing left. G hit a superkick that dropped Roman to the mat. He climbed to the top rope for the USO splash, the move that could end it all. Time seemed to stand still as G leaped through the air. The splash connected perfectly. The referee counted 1, 2, and just before his hand hit the mat for 3, Nick Aldis's music hit the speakers. Everyone was confused as Aldis walked out to the stage with a microphone. He announced that there had been a last-minute addition to the match. A 6th opponent that Roman had to face. The confusion turned to absolute chaos when the 6th opponent was revealed to be The Rock. Roman's own family member, the man who had helped establish the Bloodline's legacy, was now standing across the ring from an utterly destroyed Roman Reigns. The implications were staggering. The Rock's presence meant that even the family patriarch had turned his back on Roman's methods. What followed was less of a match and more of an execution. Roman tried to fight back but he had nothing left. The Rock hit the rock bottom. The people's elbow connected. The referee counted to 3 and it was over. Roman Reigns had lost. His legacy was officially stripped away by order of Nick Aldis. The crowd was in complete pandemonium. Some fans were celebrating the downfall of a tyrant while others were in shock at what they had just witnessed. Nick Aldis entered the ring as Roman lay motionless in the center. He took the microphone and delivered a scathing speech about how Roman had held the entire company hostage for years, how his ego had grown so massive that he believed he was bigger than the business itself, and how tonight's gauntlet match was about restoring balance to SmackDown. Aldis announced that Roman would be starting from the bottom of the card, stripped of all his privileges, and would have to earn his way back up like everyone else. The tribal chief era was officially over, killed by the calculated betrayal of Nick Aldis. The aftermath of this decision is still unfolding but the damage to Roman's legacy is catastrophic. Everything he built over 4 years of dominance has been erased in one night. The bloodline is in shambles with members scattered and broken. Paul Heyman has reportedly gone into hiding, unable to face the reality of his client's downfall. And Nick Aldis stands tall as the man who finally had the courage to do what everyone else was too afraid to do, taking down the most dominant champion in modern wrestling history through the most personal and devastating method possible. Make sure you subscribe to stay updated on every development in this unbelievable story, because the fallout from Nick Aldis's betrayal is only just beginning and you won't want to miss a single moment of what happens next.